about what's going on with the latest of Laura. Now, first of all, just say hi to Henry. How are you doing? And hi to everybody out there. Okay, let's take a look first at what's going on here. We've got a great looking day. We've got mostly clear to partly cloudy skies, temperature 84, 79 degrees at Calaveras Lake. Now, let's talk about Laura. Now, this is really interesting, and this is going to blow you away. But Hurricane Laura, not only was it the strongest hurricane to hit Louisiana ever, yes, I know, and right now you're thinking, well, how about Rita? How about Katrina? How about all these other hurricanes? Because Louisiana is no stranger to hurricanes. Well, Laura takes the cake, and you're like, well, how can that possibly be? Well, I can tell you, because usually what happens is these very powerful hurricanes, winds of 170 miles an hour, 175, usually as they move north, because a lot of times it's in September, there'll be a lot of wind shear and they'll weaken as they get closer. Example, Katrina, as it got closer to shore and made landfall, it only made landfall as a Category 3, even though at one time it was a 5. Same thing with Rita. Now, this hurricane had very little wind shear and was actually in the process of continuing to strengthen as it made landfall. So you have to go all the way back to 1856 to find a hurricane that was of equal strength hitting Louisiana. It's called the Last Island Hurricane, I think it was. And it kind of blew me away whenever I realized, hey, this is the strongest hurricane that's ever hit Louisiana. Not only that, but this is going to blow you away as well. This is the 5th strongest hurricane to ever make landfall in the continental United States. And you're like, I can't believe it. Yes, it's true. Of course, the strongest hurricane was a Labor Day hurricane in 1935 that hit the Florida Keys, 185 mile per hour winds. Camille was a 175 mile per hour Category 5 hurricane back in 1969. Andrew, we all remember that. That's a Florida hurricane as well. They're close to Miami. 165 mile per hour winds in 1992. Michael, another Florida hurricane, 160 mile per hour winds back in 2018, just a couple of years ago. And Laura, there it is. Now, I've got a little asterisk by Laura because it's tied with about 6 or 7 other hurricanes. So it's not there by itself, but in the top 5 of all-time hurricanes hitting the continental U.S., which is really amazing. Hey, Lauren, how are you? Nice to see you online. Norma, how are you? Yeah. Prayers to everybody. You know, it hit overnight, and a lot of that southern Louisiana area is marshland, and so there's no way to get really good footage of exactly what happened, but we're starting to get in some images, and we'll get in some video of exactly what happened, and I think the damage is just going to be catastrophic. By the way, I spent 4.5 years as a chief meteorologist at KPLC over in Lake Charles, so very familiar with that area. And you know, the National Weather Service yesterday was putting out an unsurvivable storm surge. And looking at that, you're like, well, are they trying to hype it up? You've got to know the landscape there in Cameron Parish. It's mainly marsh, only a few feet above sea level at best. And so when you have that hurricane coming in and piling up that water, I mean, they're right along the coastline in the town of Cameron. I'm sure it was 15 feet underwater. And then that storm surge probably went almost to the airport there, if you know anything about Lake Charles. So just a devastating thing. And by the way, I don't know if you've seen, but some of that footage out of Lake Charles already. You've got the TV station in downtown. Well, they've got a huge tower. I don't know how many feet it is, but it's a big one. Crumpled over. Like it was made out of, I don't know, made out of straw, just crumpled over. And then the big Calcasieu Bank building, it's got to be called something else by now. When I lived there, it was the big 20-story building. I don't know if you've ever been over the big bridge there in Lake Charles. Just riddled, half the windows are broken. Unbelievable footage there out of southwest Louisiana. Christy, hey, good morning. Molly, how are you doing? And Veronica, how are you doing? I know, it's very frightening there. You know, I'm getting off on a tangent here. But I had a lot of friends that still lived in Louisiana, and I was communicating with them. And I've been communicating with them for about 3 or 4 days, and I told them, I said, this is going to be a bad hurricane. And they're like, well, it won't be as bad as Rita. So it could be. And they're like, I can't believe it. And I had one friend, I'm not going to call him out, I had one friend that just left yesterday because he was determined to stay. And finally yesterday, he was like, okay, I got to go. And from what I hear, there was 150 people in Cameron Parish that decided to stay, which is a total mistake. I hope they're okay today. I hope everybody there in southwest Louisiana is okay. Christina, why didn't we get rain? Too far to the east, and we're on the weak side of that system. And we're going to take a look here in just a minute at Beaumont. Beaumont, I don't even think winds reached hurricane force, not even the wind gusts. So it totally makes a big difference on these tropical systems. If you're on the west side, the east side, it makes all the difference in the world. So let's, I can't believe we've only gone through one graphic here. Okay, landfall was right at about 1 o'clock in the morning, right there in a town called Cameron, right there in that center of that donut there, and that is Cameron Parish. Look at how big that red box. That's not a tornado watch. That's a tornado warning. They put out a big, huge warning there for a good portion of, looks like from Baton Rouge all the way down to the coastline there. But landfall about 1 a.m. And the thing about hurricanes is you've got to be just right in that eye wall to pick up the strongest winds, right? If you're outside of that, the winds diminish greatly. But if you're inside that eye wall, you're picking up some amazing winds, and that eye wall went right over Lake Charles. Lake Charles is that little where I-10 is, that it's got a thing called 210, and then right there, that is Lake Charles, and it went right over there, right over the casinos there, La Berge du Lac, had calm winds for a little while. And for all the military folks, Fort Polk, the hurricane went right over Fort Polk, Louisiana, which is way inland, which is amazing, and now starting to fall apart. You can see it doesn't look as good on radar, falling apart there across northern portions of Louisiana. So what is the strength now? I believe it is still a Category 1 hurricane, which is amazing because it made it all the way to I-20 as a hurricane. Now, well, it's almost to I-20, but anyway, winds at 75 miles per hour, barely hanging on to hurricane strength. So I had somebody ask me, why do these hurricanes weaken so quick when they come on shore? Well, two things. One is you've got the friction of the land, okay? That really adds a turbulent flow, slows down the winds, and then when you remove that hurricane from the energy source, which is the Gulf of Mexico, that's what helps to, it's basically the sun beating down on that ocean, storing that energy. Well, it's released into the atmosphere with these hurricanes, and that's what gives them the fuel, and you remove it from that, and they weaken quite a bit. So moving off to the north at about 16 miles per hour. So let's take a look at these winds over the last 12 hours or so. Let's go back to, 10 o'clock last night. Winds were gusting to 55, 67 miles per hour way before landfall in Lake Charles. And then when it made landfall at 1 o'clock, it was still it was a 150 mile per hour hurricane. Okay, so why were the winds gusting only to 97? Well, again, you've got to be inside that eye wall. Plus, you can take 20% off the bat right away when you go inland because you've got all the trees and all the buildings. Instead of a real nice flow, it makes it a little bit more turbulent, so the winds are not as strong, not as streamlined as it moves on shore. So anyway, the hurricane moved on shore, and about 2 a.m., look at the wind gust at Lake Charles, 127. Now, officially, it was 134, but look at Beaumont. The strongest wind gust, not the sustained wind, but wind gust I could find was about 70 over there in Beaumont. So it makes a big difference. If you're on the left side, that's a much weaker side. If you're on the right side, much stronger side. I mean, you can see, look at Lafayette, 45 miles per hour, and that's a good hour and 15 minutes away over to the east. Now watch what happens. Lake Charles, yeah, you had a wind gust of about 134, and then right after that, why did it go to calm? Was it because of the eye? Yeah, might have been. But 4 o'clock? 5 o'clock in the morning, hey, what happened to the anemometer? I think it blew away. And why am I saying that? Because I just saw a picture of the radar dome, you know, the big radar dome that's there at the airport in Lake Charles. Gone, totally gone. So that'll tell you how strong those winds were in southwest Louisiana. Amazing. The winds gusted at Fort Polk up to about 70 miles an hour or so. Alexandria had a wind gust up to 80 at 7 a.m. this morning, and still pretty gusty there in Alexandria, Louisiana. Now that's starting to calm down. The winds are really starting to come down there in Louisiana. So good job, good news there, right? And look at Houston. Winds are calm right now over in Houston. And by the way, the rainfall. Let's go back to the radar because we can. I forgot something real quick that I want to show everybody. Okay, so you come back here. Look at Houston this whole time. I don't think Houston picked up a drop of rain. If they did, they didn't pick up a whole lot. And Beaumont, even though they were fairly close, if you know where Beaumont is, Beaumont's in that little kink there on I-10 right before you get to Louisiana. Yeah, they picked up some rain and they picked up winds gusting to 70, but nothing like what they saw in southwest Louisiana at Calcasieu Parish, Cameron Parish, Lake Charles. Totally different story. So, you know, if you want to see destruction and be on the stronger side of the hurricane, right side is always better. All right, let's take a look. Let's get back to our weather real quick, and let me answer a few questions here. Yep, prayers for all those folks over there. And Patricia, you're welcome. And Amanda, hey, how are you doing? Yvonne, how are you? And Samantha, how are you doing? Thanks for joining me this morning. All right, temperature is 84 degrees. We've got a little bit of a north wind around the circulation. You know, that's one way it has affected us, Hurricane Laura. It's given us a little bit of a north wind. Really hadn't dried us out or anything, but we've got a north wind. And I want you to notice the wind barbs down to the south, like Carrizo Springs. They're starting to come back to the south. And I think where that north component and south component kind of come together, we may have a few showers later this afternoon. Don't expect much. There won't be much, but maybe, hopefully, we'll get an isolated shower to develop across the area. So let's just take a look at that forecast real quick. This is the computer model and what it says. Let's say high today, I think I'm going to go 1 degree above it. Let's go with 100 degrees for a high today. And again, like I said before, you see those little green blobs? Late this afternoon, there may be a few, but if you pick up one, you're going to be really lucky. So unfortunately, maybe a 10 to 20% chance of rain. How about tomorrow? I think it's going to be even hotter, probably about 103. And boy, the computer models are going drier and drier. I put in a 20% chance this morning. I may have to take that out. It's not looking good at all for tomorrow as well. Just plain hot for tomorrow. Okay, so let's take a look at the heat index. About 104, 105. That sounds about right, unfortunately. And then tomorrow, I think even hotter. Computer model's going to 109. Probably won't hit that, but I think the high temperature is going to be 103. The heat index is going to be up there as well. So unfortunately going to be hot. And this weather pattern for us is just not going to work. I just don't see much of a chance for rain. Today we've got hit and miss. Tomorrow, real hit and miss. I think next week, maybe real hit and miss. And this is the European model. Look at how dry it has us all the way through September the 6th, 1/10 of an inch. I hope that doesn't happen, because if that happens, our drought's just going to get worse, and it's just going to get worse for us. So this is the way I see it. Let's go with 100 degrees even for a high temperature this afternoon. Tomorrow, 103 is the way I see it. Could be 102, somewhere in that area. Maybe a 10 to 20% chance. When I come in tomorrow, I may have to take that 20% out over the weekend. Just plain hot, 102 to 101. Big heat index values over the weekend too. And early next week, around 100 degrees. Maybe mid next week with a trough coming in from the north, maybe a 20% chance of a shower, but it just doesn't look very good at all. I wish I had better news for you. At least we've got some sunshine, I guess. So anyway, real quick. Yeah, Pete, nothing to say, nothing good, that's for sure. And Maggie, I know, and Veronica, yeah, right? And Pete, you know what, Pete? We may have to resort to a rain dance, maybe. I don't want to do that, but we might have to resort to that. That's right. Okay, I'm doing noon today, so make sure and join me at noon and watch us 4, 5, 6, and 10. Okay, thanks for being with us. Really appreciate it. And again, prayers go out to all the folks there in Southwest Louisiana. Okay, we'll see you at noon.